So if you want to pitch a telehealth platform, these are one of the best actual referrer partnerships that we could have, because once we sign them, we get dozens of their telehealth brands that are underneath them, and some of the bigger guys, they have hundreds, right? We're talking kind of like the Open Loops or MDIs, white label MDs. These guys have hundreds of different telehealth brands underneath their existing infrastructure. And then for the smaller guys, they have dozens, which is solid. We're doing hundreds of thousands of scripts a month. This is beneficial to you because of the fact that you would get 5% of our fees of everything that of all the clinics that they refer onto their platform, right? Because how the economics work is, let's say they're bringing in around $1 million in volume. Let's just say easy math. We take around 15% of that. So we get 150 grand. Of that 150 grand, you as the affiliate partner, you would get another bonus 5% of that, right? And then obviously they, as the main referral partner, would get 30%, right? But I mean, think about it. It's just one account, because like you get 30% for referring telehealth brands and clinics directly. That's cool. You're already in this program. That's awesome for you. But the thing is, if you're able to get one of these big whales and you get 5% of everything that they kind of run in volume, and obviously that's a percentage of our script for that first year. I don't want to set any wrong expectations, but now, I mean, there's just leverage on leverage, right? Because if you do, I mean, it's just huge leverage, right? That's just, I'll stop it there. I don't want to go too deep into the math, but it's a good deal, right? So with that being said, I want to now explain how you would kind of pitch these different guys, because it's a little bit different than if you go and pitch directly to telehealth brands or clinics, starting with the email section. So with the email, you would say something like, hey name, it's been a minute, hope you've been doing okay. Same kind of intro as the other videos, if you've seen those. Obviously remove it if they're warm. And you'll say something like, hey, I remember that with your company name, you're actually looking for potentially cheaper sourcing, blah, blah. Have you looked into Affinity AI? I heard they're actually combining the volume of 4,000 different clinics to negotiate better pricing with compounders, and they actually guarantee that they could beat your prices. Check it out here, link. So why we say this is because with these telehealth brands perspectives, the biggest thing for them also is just pricing, right? Especially for them, because for them, they make their money on either the subscription fee that they charge, the upfront fee that they charge, or the per consult fee, or some of them even have a markup on the actual drugs, right? In all of those cases, if they're able to provide cheaper sourcing for their actual telehealth clinic client or telehealth clinic clients that launch these different telehealth brands, they are in a good spot. And even before that, I should probably talk about what these telehealth platforms are in case you didn't watch the other video, which explains these different telehealth brands. So I'll go back to that section. You could skip this part if you've already watched it, but think of like Open Loop, MDI, White Label MD, Wizlow. These guys launch different telehealth brands, so they have all the supporting infrastructure. Because in order to start an actual telehealth clinic, right, you need to be, you need to have a MD network. That's the biggest thing. A network that spans across 50 different states that actually reviews the intake forms of the patient. And then once they take a look at the intake forms, approve, being like, hey, this person could get a prescription or couldn't get a prescription for, let's say, GLP-1s. And in that specific situation, what you want there is obviously somebody that has that network, right? So if you look at MD integrations, I think they have the ability to give you access to, dozens and dozens of different clinicians that you can share or that can make those approvals happen, right? Another example group is like Wizlow. The big thing with them is they have that network, they have blah, blah, but they also have a really cool EMR software, right? That allows you to check out, or that allows you to manage the whole process of, because let's say a patient comes in, now you need a clinician to look at a certain software, and then obviously the intake form is going to be there, approve all that stuff. Maybe if you're in marketing or sales, you would know like a CRM, right? It's almost like that, but for the healthcare industry. And so with that being said, this is kind of what the value with these different groups are. It's the MD network, it's the software, and then a lot of the times it's the, compounder network as well. And that's the biggest thing we assist in. Now, with these different groups, we just abstract away their need to plug into all of these different compounders, old APIs, into one API instead. And on top of that, we're able to negotiate better pricing, because of our aggregated demand. So the compound, or so now it's just a no-brainer for these telehealth, telehealth platforms to join us and plug in Affinity's API. And that's why, and now that you get the context of what these different telehealth platforms are, this would be the email that you would send them in order to show them that value proposition. And then over here, you would say something like, if they are, let's say, less trusting or like kind of confused, you'd say something like, hey, we were actually rolling out to 4,000 plus different clinics and 20 plus different compounding pharmacies. Check that out there. All right, and now we would just essentially pivot that a little bit into like a text-based style if you want to SMS text them, right? Something like, hey, name, how you been? How's it been? Been a minute, how's it been? Over here, you'd only say this part if they are actually a bit less warmed up, just to re-engage them. Same kind of messagings over here. I don't want to reread this because you already get the gist. So there's the SMS section. And finally, for the conversation, here it's a little bit different. So I'm going to go through this. If you've read watched the other videos about how to pitch different telehealth brands, this is quite similar to that. So you can skip this part down over to here, which is the referral offer, and then the decrease in risk, effort, and time. Okay, I'll explain this part first, but if you've already watched the telehealth platform stuff, I wouldn't skip this section because over here it's different. So I'll go maybe a 1 to 2 minutes forward and then watch this section on how to pitch this a little bit differently. But before that, starting with how to make the conversation happen, right? This is on a call. This is kind of in person, right? And you would say something like, hey, how have you been? You've been doing okay. Obviously building that rapport a little bit. And then you transition into the pitch where you say something like, I remember with kind of your company name, XYZ telehealth platform, that you were kind of looking for better sourcing for peptides, GLP-1s, TRT, or you're always looking for this kind of stuff. I think I heard that. Have you taken and actually look at Affinity AI, their API? I heard that they're kind of combining the volume of 4,000 different clinics to negotiate better pricing with these compounders and guarantee actually that they can beat your existing prices. They're like, whoa, that's crazy. Really? I thought I had a hell of volume. That's insane. How can they do that? Well, yeah, the biggest thing with them is that number one, they're faster because you're able to plug in, right, into one API, get all these different things like pricing, stock, dosages, shipping, support, compliance, etc. from one API. Number two, they're actually able to negotiate cheaper rates because they're negotiating with the volume of thousands of these different clinics, right? They have XYZ telehealth platform, another telehealth platform on their business already, right? Like when I'm saying XYZ telehealth platform, like we have All Digital, right? They have around 50,000 scripts a month. We're in the process of signing Orbit Health, right? Cuvo.co, which combined both those guys have like 60,000 scripts a month. So now if you're negotiating with 110,000 scripts a month versus, let's say telehealth platform has like 10, 20,000 scripts a month, it's just a different negotiation story, right? When you approach that with compounders. And so that's the section of how they're able to get these prices cheaper. And number three, they're also safer because they're able to source all these different compliance and product safety, components like COAs, adverse events, state licensures, logistics, pharmacist-in-charge into one place. So now you don't have to do all of that background checking with each of these compounders every single time that you onboard each of these compounders. It just takes a whole amount of stress off of your shoulders. And in terms of pricing, this is actually completely free for clinics to join, or for yourself to join, or for yourself to plug into the API, and also for your clinics to join, right? Because they charge a transparent 15% upmark on the bulk pricing that they negotiate with these compounders. So it actually nets out to be cheaper than even if you went direct to the compounders. And the referral offer is that, hey, what happens is that with that 15%, you would make 30% of that for the first year of every clinic that joins. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, so I'm going to slow a bit down and then explain this. So right now, you're watching this, you're a referrer, okay? But you're not going to be referring a referrer, okay? This referrer, right, is now going to refer more clinics. Okay, it sounds like I'm explaining a pyramid scheme, but it's not. Like, it's just one layer down, right? And so they're referring more referrers, okay? Each of these referrers is now plugging into Affinity's API through the telehealth EMR, okay? That telehealth EMR is the one that's going to be collecting the 30%, right? So that's why I'm explaining the situation over here. You will be getting 5%, right, of all the clinics that come here. And we, of our total percent, will be getting 35% hit because we're paying you guys 5%, and then the referrer underneath that refers 5% or 30% as well, right? Probably should have drawn this out, but yeah, hopefully that clears it up. And so now when you're explaining it to them, you would say, hey, and they make an Affinity AI, right? Those guys take 15%, right? They have a 15% up mark on that volume. So let's say it's $1 million that comes in, all right? From that $1 million, Affinity AI makes around 150 grand. Of that 150 grand, you would get 30% of that. So that would be what? Let's run the math there. 50 grand times 30%. You would make 45 grand. Okay? And if we're running that every single month, now it's very, very good value there. Right? Okay. And so that's kind of the math that I was explaining here. But instead of 150 grand, it's 45 grand. Yeah. And this is for the first year of every clinic that joins. So sometimes people get confused on this. So I'll explain it here. Essentially, if they connect Affinity's API, all of their clinics, as soon as they make their first order, that year would start of 30% commissions. But if another clinic comes in, let's say a year down the road, their year would start for that clinic, the 30% commissions would start for that clinic as soon as they make their first prescription, right? And that is, what would we call it? Yeah, it's the first prescription, and it's going to be, it's going to happen. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, and they're going to get that commission, the Telehealth EMR, Telehealth platform, for that 1 year, or for the whole year that they start, even if the clinic joined 1 year down the road. Okay? So, hopefully that clears it up. You can go back and rewatch it if it was a little bit confusing, but I know that section was a little bit confusing, so yeah. All right, and now the next part of the pitch will kind of go like decreasing the risk, effort, and time. So, because a lot of these telehealth platforms, they're a little bit hesitant on integration. It's a bit of a difficult situation where they're different, developers need to plug it in and blah blah. So it's kind of annoying. You would say something like this. Well, the integration, the thing is, it's extremely simple. Also, Affinity's API and documentation is very developer friendly. They also have a team or forward deployed engineers that can assist in integration. There's also varying degrees of integration customizability you can do, from an iframe where you don't need to do much integration work to an API that you can customize your own UI on top of it if you wish. So that deals typically with their objection of like, oh, it's like annoying to integrate, right? But not really. And the second thing here is they also, well, let's just do it by voice. And also, you don't need to switch over to Affinity AI's API immediately. You can still keep the existing compounders that you've plugged in and then slowly roll out the rest of the volume to Affinity as you're starting to see that the prices are great and it's very reliable. Boom. So now this would deal with their objection of like, well, with Affinity, like, do I have to make it free, or do I have to switch over to them immediately? And is it like inexclusive, or is it exclusive? I don't want to do that, right? So that kind of handles that objection that they typically have at that point, right? So now continuing on, now we got the conversation down. Obviously, the CTA at this point you would run, which is, hey, if you're interested, you could join. I sent over to you an email or text, and then you could just send them the link that way to your referral link. And for the referral link, you'll see it. I mean, I'm sure you've already seen it, but it'll be underneath the actual section, underneath this area where you have your actual referral link. Okay? So that is the how to pitch telehealth platform.